I feel like security has this pattern, like EDR, SOAR, where capabilities kind of get unbundled. Startups doing innovative things with new technologies, they prove value, and then they get kind of absorbed back into platforms.
Something that, yes, it just gets commoditized. And yeah, same story I think that happened to the SOAR, and that's some of the predictions that was running the same story with the SOAR. Now it's happening with the AI SOC. And
AI SOC has kind of automated the easy part. Organizations declared victory. They realized that the underlying problems don't go away.
But then what happened is when you double the amount, triple the amount of alerts that you can process with the AI SOC, you get also many more outcomes. So there's not a magic thing that the AI SOC will do and will just filter out everything.
If they're sitting across from, say, 3 vendors next week evaluating this space, what questions should they be asking that they probably aren't asking yet?
Where does the AI stop in either way? Can it do the full cycle? Can it do everything from detection to response, or can it do just the initial enrichment?
Thank you for joining the Resilient Cyber Show. My name is Chris Hughes, and today I'm joined by Philip Stoikowski. Philip, thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me, Chris. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm just proud I got that last name pretty good there when we went live, so I'll take it. That's my win for today. But for folks that don't know you, I kind of want to give you a brief introduction. I've been following you for it feels like at least 18 months, 24 months, if not longer. But, on all things SecOps, AI's intersection with the SOC, those kind of things. But for folks that don't know you, can you give us a, background on your SecOps journey from SOC analyst through, now where you are, kind of the intersection of AI and security operations?
Definitely. So, yeah, I started 4 or 15 years ago now as a SOC analyst, started a large MSSP, and I went, let's say, through the ranks, so worked almost any SecOps role that it's out there, from incident response, threat intel, threat hunting, all those things. I was eventually leading the SecOps engineering team at Deutsche Bank. I was like, I would say, the highest VP management role that I got. Then I moved back to engineering roles. I worked at Sneak before coming here. At BlinkOps, where I'm responsible for the, I would say, AI SecOps strategy. So I work with the product teams, with marketing teams, sales. So I would say a lot of teams across the company helped me as how we shape the, I would say, SecOps products here.
Yeah, so you're someone who's been watching this this trajectory of AI SOC and AI's intersection with SecOps for quite some time. You write about it from the market perspective, from the technical perspective. And I'll say AI SOC was the category for 2 years there. And now some of the large players like Splunk and Sentinel, Chronicle, et cetera, they're all shipping, AI native, kind of triage capabilities in SecOps to some extent. And I feel like security has this pattern, like EDR, SOAR, where capabilities kind of get unbundled, into, startups doing innovative things with new technologies, they prove value, and then they get kind of absorbed back into platforms. Do you think AI SOC is on a similar trajectory in terms of product category, or where do you see things going?
I definitely see it that way. And especially I think, as you said, all of these categories that they start to get used a lot, it makes sense for large platforms to implement this as capabilities. And when they're widely used, you cannot just call them out. It's a single product that does this excellent. Then you need to have them bundled with other things because they rely on other things. And I think with the AI SOC is happening the same. It started as a product because there's nothing like AI SOC before that. So it made sense that, yes, we have a product that we stick on top of a SIEM or our alert generating systems and is doing all this triage. But now every SIEM has AI SOC capabilities, every SOAR has AI SOC capabilities, and it's something that, yes, it just gets commoditized. And yeah, the same story I think that happened to the SOAR, and that's some of the predictions that was running the same story with the SOAR now is happening with the AI SOC. And it's not a bad thing. It's a good thing because when everyone is using, you get confirmation that the technology is good, it's right, and we got hyped on it. And now what I'm hearing from a lot of practitioners and prospects and customers that we have, the interest is really high. 6-7 years ago, everyone was like, okay, I want to implement SOAR in some shape or form. Everyone was like, we need to run some automation. Now, all of that hype, it moved to the AI SOC. They're like, we need to implement the AI SOC in some shape or form. maybe that is within our SIEM provider, it's our SOAR provider, get just standalone vendor that is doing that, any of those. But yeah, I think that's where it's going.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to frame it. Is it it gets maybe unbundled, it gets innovated, and people tinker and come up with new innovative approaches. Whether it's technology or process or a combination thereof, and then it kind of becomes a platform play for the large, industry strategic incumbents again, right? And I think we're definitely, have went on that path as you laid out with AI SOC. You've also argued that AI SOC has, kind of automated the easy part. Organizations declared a victory. They realize that the underlying problems don't go away. Unpack that. What do you mean when you think about buying versus what they actually got when you think about triage or AI SOC and kind of the early kind of quote unquote wins around that?
That's a great question. One of the favorite one also that I get asked lately, and I like to unpack it. So why I'm saying it did the easy part, and I got this when I was able to implement AI SOC in my previous organization. I was like, okay, this is amazing. Let's see what results we're getting. And the first thing that we hit, it was like we were processing, let's say, 200 alerts per month. And we added AI SOC. We were like, okay, now we can do easily this 200, and we have 500 low alerts. Maybe we should give those. And we're like, okay, awesome. Now we are feeding like double the amount of alerts that we were able to handle before, which is amazing. But then what happened is when you double the amount, triple the amount of alerts that you can process with AI SOC, you get also many more outcomes. So there's not a magic thing that the AI SOC will do and will just filter out everything and will come to you and say, you have only 5 alerts that you need to do response. That's not the reality. And every organization has different, I would say, response policies or remediation, mitigation, containment policies internally. So it might come up with a lot of work that comes to those. And those, usually they're a lot of manual work because you need to go to different stakeholders. You need to do maybe to run some forensic analyses, run full-blown incidents. Those take a lot of time. So now what happened, companies implemented AI SOC, and they ended up with a lot of response that they needed to do. And then I was like, okay, so this really we did the easy part. Now we need to fix the response and we need to fix our detections, because if we are getting so many alerts, maybe we need to fix our detections first, which I call shift left, going on the left side, fixing your data pipelines, ingestion, detections, and so on. So you don't get so many false positives in the first place. And then try to automate the right side, which is change first the processes and policies that you have internally to be agentic and AI enabled. So you don't have so many like manual actions, too many approvals to do remediation, and try and find a way how you can, automate and orchestrate there and use agents if you need, or if you trust the AI enough.
Yeah, it sounds like trying to shift from the work just kind of got pushed maybe downstream, and there's the bottleneck of humans is just at a different point in that process. And on that note, you kind of touched on this in other things that you've written. I've read kind of the decision gap, and you call this the mean time to decision. Like mean time detection got better, mean time to remediation stayed flat, and somehow analysts are drowning in more queued decisions than before. How did faster triage actually increase the human workload? And, why is this mean time to decision metric, the one to help expose this or address this?
Yes. I think that's, first I'll go back to how I came to that one. It was like that with all of these AI SOC platforms, once you're implementing them, first you have, I would say, a trial period, or a period that you try to gain the trust in the platform, in the AI, in other words. So what happened is that in that Q&A period that you have, humans, they need to come with decisions. They need to say, yes, the AI did a great job or it did a bad job. So then there's I would say, a new process that it comes, doing a Q&A on the AI decisions that they come up with. And then they get overwhelmed with, I would say, higher level decisions. So it's one thing when tier 1 analyst is saying, okay, this is a false positive, I'll send it to my colleague at tier 2. But now you all those tier 1, they are the tier 2. And they're like, okay, do I need to remediate? Do I need to, I would say, quarantine this production server? Is it really a malware? So the decisions that fall on them, they're heavyweight, and maybe they were not trained properly because of implementing AI too fast. And yes, it's going back also to the point that we were saying for remediation and response. Many of these processes, they were like manual. So you have too many manual decisions that you need to make afterwards and coordinate them as well.
That makes sense. So in the context, like you've touched on what has or hasn't got automated, like if you look at the middle of the SOC, think like triage, enrichment, initial investigation, a lot of that's been automated, but like things like detection engineering and response, as you point out, still have not. Where does that leave security teams in terms of actually grappling with, that unaddressed aspect, like in their day-to-day? Does the pain just shift to, detection engineering and response, or what does that look like for the practitioner, and given what has versus hasn't been automated?
Yes, I think there's some good sides and bad side on this. And probably you can see in many of the marketing materials we're seeing from security vendors is that, yes, we automated the boring stuff and now we have more time to do this exciting, cool stuff. And it won't be long until practitioners in the field, they'll say, well, all this amazing stuff that we thought they'll be interesting, they're not so interesting either because we have too many manual processes there either. So I think what we need to think is how we can apply the automation and AI and LLM in the right places. So we don't just end up, yes, we have triage completely automated and autonomous, but then you have fully manual detections and response. I think you need to think as how you can change your process to have automated or AI-enabled detections. And I think we have the right tool and the right technology to do that now, because we can fast process threat intelligence report, generate threat profiles, go through all the detections, and understand, yes, what is working, what is not working. And then going to the response side, which is highly customizable. And this is something that I argue with many, that they're saying, oh, we will just provide 10 response actions and we call it a day, because that's what most of the customers they're asking. Working now at LinkOps for a company is doing security automation for a long time. And when I speak with customers, I think that I would say 99% of the automations around response, they're heavily customized. They're aligned to their processes, because even in practice or even in theory, if we say, yes, these are in response, you need to take this specific action to contain, to remediate, to mitigate the threat. But in every company, that means that you need to contact IT, you need to contact your manager to get approval. Maybe you need to raise a request in, I would say, change request or PR in GitHub on how that change will be reflected, and plan all of that. So all of that is just custom automation. So you need to be able to offer to your customers to fully customize their response, and you need to have the right tools so they can fast and easily build that.
So you've talked a lot about the category and I guess you'd say categories and different acronyms that we use in the industry. One that I've seen being used, and I think if I'm not mistaken, you've discussed a good bit too, is ASOP, ASOP. Before we get into like the architecture of what that looks like in practice, why do you think the industry needs a new framing or a new category at all? And what is it about, AI SOC or SOAR seem, the vocabulary that falls short of describing like what security teams need to build?
Yes, so why I came with that specific term, and thanks for bringing that up, is that first, I don't like the terms when we say just this next gen of something, the next gen SIEM, next gen SOAR, or next gen EDR. That can mean many things for many, and there's no like clear category when you call something next generation. Like, what other features do they have to be called the next gen? Usually that's how new categories are born. So you can think of Agentic, what we call ASOP or Agentic Security Operations Platform, is where you combine what SOAR had and what AI SOC now is providing. So those can mean two different things to different people, but in the end is you need a platform that you can build your custom automations, workflows, agents. You have all the case management cool stuff that SOAR was providing, but then you need to have plug and play solutions with it. Like it's the AI SOC, or maybe you want to automate your identities workflows or vulnerability management, or anything that has to do with, let's say, application security workflows. So you need to have those pre-packed solutions that customers can just use them really fast, like it was with the AI SOC. The AI SOC, in the end, why it got so much popularity is that you could just throw a few API keys, make some minimal configuration, and it works. So ASOP, it's all about, yes, combining plug and play with customization in one place.
Yeah, on that note of one place, like, can you walk us through the building blocks of ASOP, say like agentic workflows, deterministic workflows, case management, an analyst co-pilot integration layer, how do they fit together? And why do you think it's so important that they live in one platform versus, 3 to 4 or 5 vendors? Like why should it be in one place?
Yeah, so as practitioners, what I've seen through the years is that in order to be able to build really good workflows, or to have a platform where you can build all this orchestration, in other words, you have few components that are key. First, you need to have a place where you can build your workflows, and they need to offer you the possibility to build them with natural language, no code, low code, but you need to be able to build them full code as well. I'm often meeting with engineering teams that they're quite advanced, and they're saying we have 20, 30 automations, they're full Python written. How we can use your platform now to run those? So you need to offer that flexibility. Second is you need to be able to build agents. And probably we're seeing a lot of agentic platform with lately. And because it's a new technology, many think different things about that. When I say building agent, that means that you build reusable agents. I don't want to go to a workflow, add an agent there, and then on the next workflow, I need to add again the same agent, build it from scratch. I need to build agents where I can just call them in any workflow, deterministic workflow that I want, or I can interact simply with them. So they need to be interactive, they need to have chat interface. Then we have, case management, because it's quite useful, I think, especially if you want to build workflow related solutions. Many of them are related to case management, so you need to be able to offer that, and customers, they can use it or not and customize it fully. The other component is tables or knowledge databases, where you can store all that knowledge that your team is building around the workflows. And the last is the integrations. And lately, especially with the MCP, I think there is a not that good practice, or something that I'm not a big fan of, is you will see a workflow builder and they say, well, you can connect it to any MCP and it will work. I was like, no, that's just, you hope that the API wrapper of another company is good enough and will provide you everything that you need. In the end, yes, MCP is just an API wrapper with half-baked security in it. And that's why we have the integration engine. For us, I think it was quite important from the beginning, and we built so many integrations to support natively for our customers. So now, yes, we have huge integration base, and I think that's a key. So you don't just say, yes, here is an MCP, go figure it out and hope that the vendor that you connect has a good MCP server around it.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, you're kind of making the argument that the AI SOC is like one solution that you build on top of ASOP, not the platform itself. If that's true, what are, say, a couple of the others, like Agentic IAM, Agentic Cloud Security, Agentic GRC, threat hunting, et cetera? Like, what does it look like when you kind of start to build those into one comprehensive platform?
So how I'm seeing the solutions, and I've seen this pattern in, I think, almost every organization that I worked on, is that once you have a platform where you start to build these automations, it starts to act as, I would say, self-service internally. So you have a team that manage the automation platform. They come, they ask for automations, and you need to build workflows around them. So the thought process here, it was like, yes, why you can build different solutions on top of it, and you have all the building blocks is, let's say you have something for identity management that can be related to creating service accounts or management of service accounts, onboarding, offboarding of users, or many other things that can be related to identities. It can be even like API keys for your agents and all those things. So you can build the full workflow of how your identity engineering team or IT team is handling that, fully baked case management, how they track all those cases. But then you have, let's say, your AI SOC, where your SOC team is working on a case, and they say a new identity account was onboarded and it's doing some weird stuff. So they don't need to go and search for the identity team, create a ticket in their platform, see what it is. If they're living already in the same platform, you have all that context available already. So you can take all those smart decisions and you can connect to their workflows instantly. The other thing is that many of the automations that you build and agents that you build, they can be reusable. It might be stuff that you build for, let's say, executive reporting. It might be applicable to identity, your threat hunting team, your SOC team, to your vulnerability management team. They all need some sort of like executive reporting and build an agent for it. So you can just reuse that agent everywhere. So you don't like, each team is not redoing the work, and it's breaking silos as well. I think that's one of the most common issues that we have in security organizations, that every team is building their silo and they work in their, I would say, small area. And then it's really hard to share with other or collaborate with other teams.
So as someone like who watches this, space, this category very closely, the SecOps domain, I guess you'd say, knowing, especially it feels like in the AI era, at least to me, like M&A and we talked about in the beginning of the conversation, these unbundling and bundling and like platform, kind of cycles, they seem faster than they have in the past, at least to someone watching the M&A space. If you were to look at like, say, the SecOps domain and, look at like pure play AI SOC vendors, compared to like the SIEM incumbents and things like that. Like say over the next 12 to 18 months, what do you foresee happening in that space in terms of, who wins, who gets consolidated, who survives and stands alone? Not necessarily companies, but, types of platforms or types of solutions. And I think you have a line even that you put, it says the platforms that win will not close the most alerts. They will eliminate decisions that never needed a human in the first place. What does that kind of look like in practice?
Yes, I love that question. Is especially at RSA, I was getting quite often, and I was initiating discussion around that just to get sense of the market and how people they're seeing it. But it was closely aligned of how I'm seeing things going. And you're right, yes, it's happening way faster. So in the past, if we were looking at the SOAR acquisitions, usually they were taking between 5 to 8 years to happen a SOAR acquisition. Now with the ASOC vendors, last year when I said, oh, we will see the first acquisitions next year, everyone was like, there's no way that will happen. And we already started to see some of them. I think we had already 3 this year. So, and how I'm seeing this will playing out is we have over 50 vendors just in the AI SOC space, saying it's a hot topic a lot. They saw that, yes, there's a need for it. So they built companies around that. But this can, I would say, play in multiple ways. One is we will see many of these vendors that they go the MDR route, which MDR, MSSP, which makes sense. And we already see some of them going that route. And it's natural evolution is like you have an MDR and MSSP, what they needed to do, their biggest issue it was they couldn't hire enough people to handle all the customer alerts that they get. Yes, doing AI SOC, you can scale faster, better, improve your product way more. So one is the MDR play. Second is the platforms that they will, I would go say, shift left and right. So they would go more on the SIEM detection engineering side, build on that side of the house, or the other ones that they'll go heavy on workflows, response automations, things like that. Big part of them, yes, if they stick to the plug and play just AI SOC, I think it will be quite challenging for them. But going back to the platform, I think that will stick for long and grow from here is the ones that they live around workflow gravity. So that means that you offer both plug and play solutions, but you can customize it or build it yourself anytime that you need. And I think those are the key capabilities or features that platforms needs to have to succeed in what's the ask today.
So I want to ask kind of the question to close us out, maybe a practical takeaway for a CISO, security leader, someone in the SecOps space, a practitioner, for example, if they're sitting across from, say, 3 vendors next week evaluating this space, what questions should they be asking that they probably aren't asking yet? And, what's maybe a tell or a signal that separates like a real agentic SecOps platform from a polished AI SOC wrapper?
Yeah, so for that one, first I'll say that we even built like open source tool, myself and a few peers, which we call the ARM framework, which is all around evaluating and measuring your response capability within AI SOC platforms. And why we concentrate on the response, I think this goes back to the question that you said, like what they should ask, is where does the AI stop in their way? Can it do the full cycle? Can it do everything from detection to response? Or can it do just initial enrichment? So I think that's the first question, just to get sense with what specific problem will help them or will solve it for them. And the second one is if they do response, or can the platform be fully customized to their processes. And as well, as far as AI SOC and investigation, I think the key capability is to be able to customize it and tailor it to your processes, your team matures. Something that I see with, especially with plug and play AI SOC, they work amazing in the first, I would say, 3 to 6 months. You connect it, it works fine, and then your team is, okay, now we are mature enough, we can go to the next level, we can improve our processes, we want to do this investigation differently. If you need to go to the vendor and ask every time that you want to implement something for threat intelligence or vulnerability management, and you need to wait, I don't know, 6 months, 1 year to deliver it, I don't think so. You will be fast enough to defend from the AI in that sense if you don't have that option from your vendor tool that you're using.
I love it. Some direct, practitioner-focused questions to really sift through, the capabilities that you may be evaluating. So before we break here, anything you want to throw out from the team at BlinkOps? Where can folks learn more? Maybe follow you along on. I know you're active on LinkedIn and so on. Anything you want to throw out there?
Yeah, definitely. So we are running as well a challenge where people, they can come up and tell us their challenge, SecOps challenge that they have, and we can show them and build them a workflow around that, or agent around that. So yes, reach out if someone wants to participate for that. And yes, if they're curious to see how this Agentic Security Operation Platform plays and how it's different and what value it brings, they can, yes, definitely reach out to me and can take it from there.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today. I always learn a lot following you along in the SecOps space of, AI's intersection with SecOps, and strongly recommend folks give you a follow as well. Always great to chat with you.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me today. It was great chatting with you.
Absolutely. Take care.